Hello everybody, I'm LPS Tiptoe and welcome to another video. I got a lot of questions on how I built my forest scene in my Littlest Pet Shop series called LPS Midnight. So today I decided to show you guys how I made it. So let's get started with the basic things you will need for this craft. Scissors, glue, and a hot glue gun. You're also going to need blue sand and white sand. If you don't have blue sand, what I did is I mixed the white sand with a little bit of blue food coloring. You're also going to need different types of moss, fake plants, and some more fake leaves. I'm going to use sticks to make the trees, but if you want, instead of making the trees, you can always use trees that you already have. But I'm going to show you how to make trees out of moss and some sticks. To make the scene more interesting looking, I'm going to be using small rocks and some fake flowers. For the background, I'm using some pictures I printed off Google, but if you don't have a printer or you don't want to waste ink, you can always just paint the background a color that you want or use scrapbooking paper. Okay, so first with the box, you're going to want to see, how to plan this out. So what you're going to do first is you're going to cut off all the tabs and the front of one side. Alright, so here we have the basic box, and this is what we're going to use to set up the forest. Now, I want my forest to have a river in it. Now, this is completely optional, but I already have a basic forest, so this one I want to include a little bit of water, which is why we have the blue sand. So to do that, as you can see here, there's an open spot in the middle. This is where I want to put my river. So I'm just going to leave this, but if you don't want your river, you can always take out these side flaps. So to start us off on our floor, I'm going to be using this moss. Here's what it looks like. This stuff is very nice for flooring if you want to do outside flooring. And to get to stay in, I will be using some basic liquid school glue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on both sides, but not in the middle, because in the middle is where my river is going to be. Okay, so now that I've covered both sides with glue, I'm just going to take my moss and sprinkle it on top. Alright, so now we have the flooring in. Now we want to get in the river and kind of like the sandy bank of the river. So again, we're going to be using glue, because I really want the sand to stay in this. Alright, so now we have the river in. Now we need the banks of the river, which go on the side. So for that, I'm going to be using just regular white sand. So here is my river. I decided to go in with some natural sand on top of the white sand to give it a more elevated, kind of, more natural look to it. And so then I started to place these little rocks around it. So with my little stones, all I did was just take one, place it in, and there we go. Then I started to decorate it. Then I added a moss bush back here. So this is just our basic layout so far. Now we're going to add the background and add trees and some more kind of like bushes and stuff around it. For this project, I also purchased this mini bridge from Michael's, and so I just decided to place that right in the middle of my little river to give it more of a realistic look. Again, this is completely optional. You can make one. I just decided that this would add a really nice touch to it, so I'm just going to center it in and make sure it's nice and sturdy. Therefore, our LPS can have somewhere to stand and look at the river. So I thought that'd be nice to add. Next up, I want to add a background. So for this, I want to cut it down to size to fit my box and just glue it either with a glue stick or liquid glue all the way around the box. So for this, I did print out multiple pictures to use. Again, this is completely optional. You can paint it, you can use scrapbook paper. I just want a more realistic look, so I went with a photo. Now we have our background scene in. Now I'm gonna add some plants, some rocks, and some little details, and then we'll move on to putting in the trees. So here's what I have so far. I added moss as little shrubs in the background. I added some fake flowers and some petals. We have our bridge, and we have more fake flowers and shrubbery over here. Now you could leave it like this, or you could have the option to add flowers. With this project, there's a lot of freedom of choices and things that you just rather prefer. I would also like to add that this project has been very messy, as the blue dye from the sand did stain my hands a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that will come off with just some soap and water. For the tree, all you're going to need is a stick, some moss, and a hot glue gun. All I'm going to do is put a little glue right here on the side of the stick. Then I'm just going to take a little bit of moss and hold it and stick it on. You're just going to build up on moss. So a little bit of glue and a little bit of moss. To plant a tree, you're going to clear a space, make sure there's no loose moss, like that. Make sure you have your tree in hand, and you're just going to go in there and put a lot of glue down. A couple squeezes. So you see we have our glue amount down, and we're just going to put our tree right in the center. Now to make it stay balanced, while the glue is still wet, take a little bit of moss and wrap it around the base of the tree where the glue is. This will keep your tree grounded and in place and keep it held up. Just like that. Alright, so here is the finished result. As you can see, I put in 4 trees. I have a bridge. Here is my little river, and there's lots of shrubbery, lots of plants, and there's lots of stuff going on, but at the same time it's simple, it's neat. I really like this. I think this turned out way better than my last forest. This time we do have a small river, which I think is super cool, and it'll be something interesting to film with. Of course, it always helps to have like these little rocks to put wherever you want, just to add more details. This is a really easy project, but at the same time, this can be extremely messy. You want to keep this on a shelf somewhere. It does not travel. You want to keep this on a table at all times because the sand is not exactly held down and these things could spill. I only glued down a little bit of the moss and the trees and a little bit of the sand, but not everything is really held down. So I would use this for filming. If you're going to use this for playing, be very careful with this. This is one of those delicate crafts that you just make if you want like a little scene or something. So those are my recommendations. Otherwise, this is very lovely and it adds great detail into any sort of play set or into any sort of filming.